Good morning, everybody. My name is Morgan Cole with Brightline Property Management, and you're tuned in to the Brightline Podcast. Today is Thursday, April the 2nd, 10:08 in the morning, and I've got Matt Beasley joining me today. If you don't know Matt Beasley, he is our local Montgomery County Precinct 3 Justice of the Peace. He's also an old friend of mine. We went to high school together. We've been around the community for a very long time. So Matt's going to join me here in a minute, and we're going to talk about everything that's going on with the world and any questions y'all might have. If you're tuned in live and you want to ask us a question, we'd love to answer that. So without further ado, let me kick this over here to Matt. Matt, how you doing this morning?
How's it going, Morgan?
Man, I'm doing good. Thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here at work. I'm at the courthouse. The parking lot is vacant. As you know, everything is pretty much on pause. But
Yeah.
I appreciate you letting me come on this show, and I'm looking forward to talking to you today.
You bet, man. So, Matt, are you seeing any issues right now that you're having to deal with as any sort of an emergency or anything like that in the community, or anything you need to tell anybody before we get too deep into this?
Well, I will say, as a function of the court, we are still here. You can call if you have a question, whether you got a ticket or you have a lawsuit or an eviction, whatever the case may be, we're here, but we're only doing certain cases. It has to be pretty much an emergency. The Supreme Court stayed all the court hearings unless it's an emergency. So there's certain writs that we can do, and a lot of the courts are going to Zoom. I don't know if you. I don't have Zoom. I know you.
I
Morgan.
can
You
teach you.
probably. Yeah, I'm sure you could. But that's what most of the courts are going to right now, especially the criminal courts that are doing pleas for people or that are in jail or people who need to get out on bond. So for the judicial system in Texas, this is like this is the strangest time because we can't hold court, and
Yeah.
that's what we do. So we're trying to catch up on stuff here, and just keep answering the phones. We're at half staff um, because we have so many people. We have almost 20 employees here, so we're doing half one week and half the next week. So we keep the
Wow.
number down. But the phones are still ringing. We're still responding to people. So if you have a question or anything, just give us a call. We are here.
Well, thanks for that information. I think a lot of people have been wondering what's going on in the courts. I mean, we don't want the world to go crazy without you guys, so it sounds like y'all have a system, but things that aren't, like you said, an emergency are just going to kind of get pushed off right now.
Yeah, I think it's April 30th. I think is when the Supreme Court's going to issue another order. Now, whether or not they extend it or we start having court, we'll know the end of this month.
So, talk to us a little bit, on topic with my world as a property manager. What does that mean for someone who is in a situation where they can't pay their rent right now, as far as an eviction?
So, like any other landlord or property owner, there are certain deadlines and rules to filing evictions. For instance, you have to have a notice to vacate. You have to have the citation served. You have to do all these things to actually get in front of the judge or a jury and have that case heard. Right now, you can still file in our court. You have to do it through e-file. A lot of people are used to doing e-filings if they come to the court a lot for evictions. We will accept that filing. We just cannot send a constable to serve that citation, to serve that lawsuit.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now,
Yeah, well,
is that
the
something
Supreme
that
Court says we can't even send the
can't serve it?
citation out of. Yeah, that's correct.
I knew that I mean, I was aware you weren't hearing them, but I didn't know that the causality there was actually that you couldn't serve them and therefore you cannot hear them. Or I guess they kind of go in tandem. They've said, hey, if we're not hearing them, let's not serve them.
Absolutely. Yeah, they said if we're not going to have the actual hearing, we can't even send the citation out to begin the lawsuit process.
Is
So
causality a word? I hope it is. If it's not, we need to create a Morganisms like
I don't
Bushisms.
think I've ever I don't think I've ever mentioned or known you to not make or just make a word up. So I'm assuming that's a real word.
All right, we'll go with it. So, well, okay. So, what's going to happen then? Like, let's say that all these people are e-filing, after April the 30th passes, will y'all just deploy the constables to, provided nothing gets updated? Will y'all deploy the constables to go serve everybody and then have an enormous docket?
Yeah. So let's just say April 30th, we're back to normal,
Mm-hmm.
and that's wishful thinking at this point. But let's just for the sake of discussion, we were back to normal April 30th. We'll likely hold eviction dockets every day. We might even do them 7 days a week until we get all the cases heard. Um, we
Wow.
still we still have cases when this happened that needed to be heard 3 weeks ago. So we're getting about 20 to 30 filings still a week. And I think a lot of people are just not filing because a lot of people are used to coming into the court and actually filling out that petition in the courthouse. So we do about 120 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually a normal month. And we haven't, if we go 2 months, we're going to have to catch up plus the work we already have that comes in on a regular basis. So we will send the constables to serve those papers, and we will hold dockets every day as long as we have to get caught up.
Well, I mean, I certainly, I've talked about it on every episode I think so far that I've done recently. How I do want to work with people. I don't want anybody to have to leave anything that we manage because they lost income as a result of this coronavirus. But I think there are definitely people who had issues prior to this that might use it as a crutch. And I've seen some things come down the line where the advice is given, that y'all might even be able to evict people for reasons like domestic violence or lease infractions that have nothing to do with coronavirus. Have you looked into that at all or seen how those might
Yeah,
be prioritized?
so that's one of those things that we can do. What I was talking about, emergency
Oh, okay.
hearings that were allowed, and one is imminent threat, basically for an eviction. So if there's an imminent threat of danger or property damage or something, where it justifies not waiting, what we have to do is we have to first have a hearing to determine, is there an imminent threat? If there is one, then we set that for the actual eviction hearing. So, but your standard non-payment of rent, all those cases are being stayed until we get the court back open again per the Supreme Court.
Okay. Okay. Well, wow, this is a wild time. So do you think you guys will get Zoom spun up here soon, and you'll be rocking and rolling with that? I mean, that's got to be coming for you guys. You can't just wait until April 30th, I don't think.
We can't actually evict anyone unless it's imminent threat, with Zoom or not Zoom. So until April 30th.
Gotcha.
Or we're told we can by the Supreme Court, which they've already said April 30th is the date. The Zoom, and what I've talked to some of the other judges about, would be perhaps we could do more. We could have more cases on the docket if we did some at all times using Zoom. So not during business hours, or maybe on Saturday or maybe on Sunday, because then I don't need that. I don't need the whole staff here. We can just hear those cases through Zoom, and we can clear those cases out.
Okay. Okay. So talking about clearing cases out reminds me, I've been paying attention to things you put on social media, and I've never noticed another judge do this. So, kudos to you for doing it, but more kudos to you for your close rate in wrapping cases up and moving them out. I mean, I think the last time I saw it, you were at like 107% rate of knocking cases out, meaning that you were getting them off your desk faster than they were getting onto your desk. Can you talk to us about the initiatives that you've taken as a justice of the peace to make that happen?
Yeah, so I started a rocket docket. It's known throughout the court world as, basically, you set deadlines for your filings and your hearings. You're very strict about those deadlines. So you only grant one continuance for each party, and then I'm going to hear the case. And that gets the cases to the courtroom, or we get agreements. A lot of times it forces people to come up with an agreed judgment, or non-suit the case or whatever, but that case is going to be disposed of in X amount of days. And I've stuck with that. Some people weren't used to that. that's the only way I know how to do it, because I feel like the quicker we get these cases heard, the better for everyone involved, all the parties.
Yeah.
And actually 2019 I closed out at 121% clearance rate, which is outstanding. I mean, it's not me, it's my staff. It's working hard. We do night court, so we do a criminal night court docket.
Is that new?
Helps.
Is that
yeah?
that's you?
That's new. That's new. It's the first. We're the first JP court in Montgomery County to do it. People who have a criminal case, they don't have to take off work. They can come after work and they can speak to a prosecutor or speak to the judge. And if they can't come up with some type of plea deal or get the case dismissed by the prosecutor, we will set them for a jury trial. But it helps people come to court. They're not missing court. We're not doing issuing as many FTAs because people don't come. You know, people
gives them an
have to
opportunity.
work.
Yeah,
absolutely. And we started a small claims night court. We do that once a month. So we're pulling those small claim lawsuits in. We're doing those. We start at 6 p.m. We do it once a month on top of the regular court work we do during the day. So all that stuff has helped me get the clearance rate that I have, and I'm really proud of that. That's the reason why I post all that, is because when I can see the numbers, I can see the fruits of my labor and the fruits of the office's labor. And that means a lot to me. It gives me a motivation to continue to work hard and to come up with new ways to get these cases heard, because I think that's what the people want.
Oh, congratulations, man. I mean, I'm a citizen in your precinct, and I appreciate that. I mean, I think you and I both have lived in the precinct that you represent for, I don't know, 25 plus years.
Yeah,
You know, I think to see that information, just because I enjoy looking at data, I mean, A, publishing the data, I like that. I like to consume that. And B, it's positive data. Like, I mean, you are proactively doing things and you're bringing new efficiencies to a court system, which I think a lot of people are unaware of exactly what the numbers are that go through courts. But even still, I think most people's opinion without providing them positive data would be, oh, they're inefficient. You are not only providing the data, you're also making it more efficient. So thank you for doing that for all of us.
No, I love it. This is the best job. I love this job. Every day I come to work, I'm thrilled. I feel like it's the perfect fit for me. I'm blessed every day to be here, and I want to work hard, and I want people to know that I'm working hard. And you know, the court system, especially, you know, nowadays with everything you can do in your, you know, to occupy your time, the courts are boring, right? And so the best way I can show people, this is what I'm producing for the people who elected me to do this job, and everyone in the community, is, here are the numbers, here's what I'm doing, and it is what it is. It really does motivates me, and it makes me work really hard. I'm proud of it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You should be. You really should be. That's great. That's really cool. Keep up the good work there. So what did you do prior to being a Justice of the Peace? I mean, tell us kind of how you became to be Matt Beasley, Justice of the Peace, which, when to be honest, when I first heard you were running for that, I was like, what? That sounds like a pretty big deal. And then I learned about what you were doing, and I was like, man, this is killer, and it's working out. But I mean, tell us how you got there.
Well, I'll start from when I was at the Woodlands High School, and you were one of my colleagues there walking the hallways. And just to give a plug for Morgan has been doing technical audio video stuff from the day I met him. I think probably the first time I met Morgan, he was customizing car radios.
I'm sure.
So this is so Morgan, and you can definitely tell you're a professional what you do. And when Morgan wants something done right, he does it 110%. And it is the most professional and clean you can be at whatever he does. So
I love it. Thank you.
I went to the high school, the Woodlands High School. When I got out, actually, when I was in the high school, I was riding with the constable's office. You remember Tim Holyfield?
Oh, yeah.
He was a mentor for me. And I rode with him on the weekends, and I got interested in becoming a law enforcement officer. So when I got out of high school, I went to the police academy, and Tim Holyfield hired me, and I started patrolling the Woodlands area. I actually served the court papers of the court that I'm now the judge of, which is kind of cool to, be on both sides of that.
Yeah.
Then I transferred to the sheriff's office. I went and worked CID. I did auto theft. I was a part of a task force. So I investigated felony cases. And after that, I went and worked for the commissioner's office. I worked for James Nowak. I started out as a project manager. I managed road projects. And then I decided when Edie Conley announced she was going to retire, I decided I was going to throw my hat in the ring. And one of our mutual friends, Jared Rush, is one of the first people I talked to, and he's been a big supporter of mine. And then from then, I just started knocking on doors and campaigning, which is a whole nother. You wouldn't believe how crazy campaigning is. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. You meet a lot of people, which is what it's all about. And I really got to learn what people wanted with the court. And that's one of the reasons why I came up with the night court, is because people were like, we really wish we had more access to the court. People were, missing, they had to take a day off of work to just come handle one thing.
Yeah.
And, I can't accommodate everyone, and I don't think anyone expects me to, but I did feel like that was a legitimate improvement for the court, and I implemented it. And so I got to meet a bunch of people. I got to hear their opinions. And it was about a year process. I mean, I went through the primary.
How many people did you have to primary against?
So it was 3 of us total. So I had 2 others. And then after I won the primary, I had a November, a general election opponent. And then I won that. And I started campaigning in November of 2017, and I won in November of 2018.
Okay, and when did you become? Yeah. When did your
January
term
1
start?
January 1 of 2019.
And how long are the terms?
4 years.
4 years. All right. These 2-year terms, I'm sure they're important, and someone please tell me why they're important. But I feel like you spend half of your term like being sure you get reelected when you're in a 2-year term. So I'm glad that you're talking about all the work you did, the campaigning, the block walking, meeting people. I mean, I want you to concentrate on your job, and thank goodness you have a 4-year term so you can actually do that.
Yeah, I would never participate in an election where it were 2 years, especially if I were coming into something new, because you're right. It's taken me a year and 4 months now just to finally feel like I've gotten my feet on the ground and gotten things running the way I want them to run.
Yeah.
It's a lot to learn. And like any job, if you want to be good at it, you have to do it, and you have to be there, and it takes time. So if I were a 2-year term, I would already be campaigning right now. But instead I'm doing the job that people elected me to do, which is great.
That's good. I think you're probably acutely aware there's someone in my family who runs here every 2 years. And I feel like every time the election comes up, I'm like, what? That just happened. How are you running again? Didn't we just do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then also with the township, so we're talking about Dr. Ann Snyder, with the township, they're staggered. So there's 7 people, 3 of them run every 2 years, and 4 of them run every other year, staggered. It's like there's township and people talking about who's going to run, why they should run, and running. I think there's 6-month pauses in it basically, and it's up and running again.
Yep, you're right. You're absolutely right. And depending on the race, draws a lot of interest. And I knew I had to start early. Right. I knew I had to meet a lot of people. So I had to start early, and I had to knock on those doors, and I knew it was going to be tough. So it really was a year of my life. I did that almost full time, and I'm glad it's over with, and I don't look forward to it next time. I do. I enjoyed meeting people, and I enjoyed telling people what I was going to do for them if I were lucky enough to earn their vote. But in terms of your actual time away from doing other things that I enjoy to do, it's tough on anyone. It doesn't matter who it is. If you were a candidate, my heart goes out to you. A lot of people don't realize how difficult it is to put yourself out there and to go and campaign and to do something for your community. But like I said, I'm blessed, and I love it.
That's cool. No, you're the right man for the job, for sure. Tell us then. So you're highly efficient. Your court's highly efficient, and I know you attribute that a lot to your staff, and I applaud that. But what is it that electing one person to do this job is, how do you directly impact policies, procedures? Is it simply how you decide on cases that are non-jury cases, or is there more to it than that that goes into you being the person who's doing the job?
Yeah, well, I mean, so it absolutely comes down to how I rule on the cases in terms of that case, right? But I tell I tell the staff here, and you know, I make it a point every day to say, what can I do today to make sure I get these cases heard and get them off of my docket?
Okay.
And so there, it's really one of those things. Like, so take for instance what you do. Okay, you're competing against the market, right? You know, if someone comes and they're better than Morgan Cole at whatever Morgan Cole does.
That's nonsense, but keep talking.
Yeah, but you know where I'm going, right? So when you work in this type of job, I have no competition. There's no one who can come in and take my job from me other than through the election process.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to lose your sight and motivation to work hard, right? So
Yeah.
that's why I constantly think about what can I do. I challenge myself because I find enjoyment to it, and it keeps my, the court fresh, and it keeps me going. And, hey, look, hopefully the people, like what I've done and they'll reelect me, but I don't have competition. There's no one else who can do my job. And that is unique to government, which a lot of people who have never done government, had a government employment or done something in public safety. And it's not just me, it's your sheriff, it's your constable, it's your congressman. You've got to be really self-motivating, and you have to constantly remind yourself, what am I doing? What can I do to improve?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. The motivation is very distant. It's delayed. I mean, obviously, when you get close to election, that's going to be more in your forefront. But you got to keep that running, and you got to keep other things that are motivating you. And like we said, I mean, you're obviously producing. But I was just kind of curious what it means to elect you to do this job, versus another person. And I think it's a person who respects that they've been elected to do this for 4 years, and they're going to stick with it, and they're going to do that job, and they're going to show the people that elected them, hey, I can do this.
Yeah, we all, every judge has their different styles of how they set their dockets, or how they rule, or some, for instance, I don't do much mediation. Some judges like to do mediation. And so that's just my preference. And so we do have different styles, and whether or not mine's better than someone else's, that's not for me to decide. But everything each judge does is different in their own regard. So I have an eviction docket. It's a solo eviction docket. I try to move that eviction docket very efficiently. I get a lot of non-payment of rent cases. And depending on, after I've heard the testimony, if it is in fact a non-payment of rent case, it usually won't take me very long, because they violated the contract of the lease. And that is, I'll rule in favor of the plaintiff. When it comes down to, yes, I have paid, or there's a lot of, every case is different. Some people will say, well, they agreed to pay, I can pay them in installments, or I'm evicting them because they're loud. Those things are different than, yeah, I just haven't paid my rent. There's really not much other testimony. But I give everyone, I treat everyone with respect, but I do run an efficient docket. And I try to arrive at a conclusion and give a judgment as quick as I can, but give everyone their time in court, and it's a fair process.
No, that's I'm sure you do. We were talking before we started here that you haven't seen me in your court since you started, and I don't think we've had to evict anybody in this precinct. That's really one of the things. If you talk to Amy, who does our business development, she prides us on our statistic for our extremely low eviction rate in Brightline Property Management, because we do a good job screening our tenants. We have high standards that we require people to meet before they can be approved to live in our houses. They're not unattainable, but it's a good standard, and therefore we don't come visit you. So,
yeah.
that's good. But I can say that in other properties, in our mobile home parks, in particular, we're filing evictions. We're filing evictions in every month in various courts, and I can say that it's pretty efficient process. But I've been interested. It's been surprising to me see different judges handle different cases different ways, and 9 times out of 10 they do tend to just black and white interpret the law and say, hey, you have 5 days, or if you own a mobile home, you have 30 days to get off of that lot. But I have seen people interpret things in a surprising manner before, and it can be very disappointing. It could be that their constituents really like that, and that's how they get voted in. But around here, I know that that's not the kind of people that we elect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, you touched on it. I mean, each judge is very different, and each judge can interpret the law differently. You would think, the law, you read it, it's pretty black and white, but the judges are elected to interpret the law and apply the law as fairly as they can. So you can tell, I mean, just by your own story, each judge, we all kind of do things differently. We interpret the law differently.
you do. I used to go to eviction court myself a lot, and now we have people here in the office that generally are the ones that go. But in the beginning, when I was doing this, I actually used to always sit in the front, and I would try to listen, and I would enjoy hearing the either the complaints or the stories, and the parents that are evicting the kid. I've seen that happen before, that like the parents gave the kid the house or something like that, and the kid didn't uphold any of their deal, and they eventually had to evict their own child from their house. I've seen all kinds of stuff, so I'd love to hear from you, whether it's eviction court or just other things you can share. What is it that it comes across your bench that is kind of out there, or also is there any aspect of this job that you just never saw coming?
Well, I do. I have some, occasionally I have some ladies that come and watch my eviction court. That's like their own entertainment.
Okay.
So some people do love coming to court, and they like to hear the cases and hear the testimony.
We need to put that on the show next week, or when you get back in business. I'm going to take all this gear to your courthouse, and we're just going to broadcast
Good,
it.
live from the bench.
Yeah.
I would say, the small claims, we get a lot of small claims, and that's generally people suing each other for they have a disagreement over money or some type of service. So those are difficult because everyone's right. That's what the tough thing about being a judge is. Everyone expects to win, and I
Hadn't thought about that.
I don't pretend to think that or try to make everyone win, but people walk out of the courtroom, someone is usually upset. They think that they were wronged in some way. So those are tough. But the death inquests are what I didn't realize. I knew it was a lot. I didn't know how much it was. And it is a whole lot.
You go in this precinct when there is a death.
I go, yes. I try to go to everyone. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I rely on information that I'm speaking to someone on location over the phone. I speak to doctors over the phone. We have death investigators that are assigned to the forensic center that assist us in our death investigation. So I am responsible for the ones that fall under my jurisdiction, every one of them. Do I go to all 700 plus? No, I can't. It's not possible for one person to do that. But all 700 of those are investigated through an inquest process with the court, and I decide the cause and manner of those deaths, and I sign the death certificates.
Wow, that is that's a big responsibility, and yeah, that's got to be a really extremely unfun part of the job that you do.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely, it's a lot of my time, and it is unsung for sure. A lot of people don't realize that the Justice of the Peace does that for the community, but
you had some preparation, I suppose, in being a constable and a sheriff, and knowing how to approach those scenes and be present at those scenes. Did that help you to be able to do that?
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't imagine I couldn't imagine even starting to learn how to do that other than my law enforcement training. You
Yeah.
know, I dealt with Judge Connolly, I dealt with Judge Spikes, I dealt with all the JPs before when I was in law enforcement. And, you know, by virtue of law enforcement, they're the ones who respond along with EMS to the scene where someone may be dead. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was valuable experience for me. It's funny, all my career has kind of led me to where I'm at right now, and it has given me experience in the things that I needed to know how to do this job the way that I'm doing it right now. And it's crazy how that happens. God works in mysterious ways, and you know, that training absolutely did prepare me for what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah. You know, that's something that most people wouldn't think about. I don't think about that component of anybody's work, having to go in an entire precinct, you know, having to be involved in the deaths that occur. But that's sombering for sure. So, you know, moving on to what's kind of affecting us right now, you know, we've obviously talked about your court being paused. We've talked about evictions. Is there any other stuff that you are involved in? You know, at a county level, a county judge, you know, such as Mark Keogh, you know, he's doing things to actually, you know, shut down certain things or restrict what our citizens are able to do. And I think that they're, you know, staying on top of that, and they're managing that, and they're making, you know, responsible decisions. And so, you know, thank you to them. But is there anything in there that you contribute to, or do you just carry out the orders that he puts in? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, so if someone were to violate some type of county ordinance, usually those violations would come to the JP court, depending, you know, what it is. We hear Class C's, fine only offenses. So there is a chance that some of those could come to the court and be heard. Obviously, they're not going to be heard right now
Yeah.
until we open up. But in terms of like actually enforcing it, no, I don't do any enforcement. The county judge is by statute this the responsible party to determine when these situations occur. He is the sole person who decides what happens in a public, you know, some type of public health disaster. So, you know, I know he has a lot of people that he talks with. The public health district helps him out, and you know, this is a tough time for everyone. I mean, any decision he makes affects people. It's kind of like the danged if you do, danged if you don't
Yeah.
situation. I mean, he is in a tough spot right now, and you know, but I think that as a community, we're going to make it through this,
Hmm.
and we'll be back to normal. We're just trying, you know, let's just do our best to make sure that we can curb this virus that's hit us. You know, I mean, it is a weird time right now. You drive around, the roads are empty.
Yeah.
You know, you don't even recognize where you're at sometimes. So, but other than that, I come to work every day. I come to work because my staff comes to work, and there's work to be done, and it makes me feel normal. I don't like to not work, and I know, you know, it is essential that I come and that the staff comes. And if they were to change that, I would go home. But I like coming to work. It makes me feel normal, especially right now.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, we're all working from home. We sent everybody home a couple of weeks ago and got everyone set up to work remotely, and we've done our, you know, Zoom meeting and stuff like that to just kind of have our team meetings. Where we use Microsoft Teams, not Zoom. But I feel like when I come to the office, like where I am right now, even though I'm alone, it is kind of nice to know this place still exists,
Right? Yeah.
and I can leave my house and I can come do this. And it is everyone is feeling this. You know, you and I are not alone in experiencing this. This is not like we're sharing our hurricane experience with someone in an unaffected area of Texas. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
Texas, the United States, the world, in most areas is suffering from this right now, and this is just a crazy thing to be dealing with, but we're all going to get through it. I agree.
Yeah. You know, I was going to ask you about Zoom. So should I use Zoom or should I use what you were just The Microsoft.
Zoom, I think I would use because it's most platform like agnostic. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're using a Mac. It doesn't matter if you're using a
Okay.
PC. I even think you can open it up on a iPhone. So like,
I was told you can get
yeah,
on the phone
I'm
and do
pretty
it.
sure you can. Whereas like FaceTime, the way we're talking right now, like I've got my iPad hooked up with an HDMI output going to my video mixer over here, but it's just me and you on FaceTime. And if you had an Android, we would be using Zoom as our alternative right now. But you don't even have to have that conversation with people. If you email them, a Zoom link, they just click that, it'll automatically
And they're
download the
there.
program, and
Huh.
yeah, I mean it really wouldn't be that hard to get you up and running with it. Now, someone on your staff is going to need to be an admin of a Zoom account if y'all are using it, and you're going to need to choose the one that accommodates the number of participants that y'all are going to have. Like you've got like one or two people that are usually in the courtroom with you that are assisting you by providing you the docket and the case information and stuff like that. You're
Yeah.
probably going to want those people to be present on the Zoom meeting, and to have more than a one-on-one meeting you have to pay. It's not expensive, but I'm just saying, like, y'all have to choose the
Yeah. Yeah.
appropriate Zoom account that'll get y'all the participants and the hours that you need in a month to use it. But
Yeah.
I would
Um,
definitely go that route.
I'm gonna look into it. I'm kind of, um, I'm pretty tech savvy, but I'm not Morgan Cole, So, and then that's just something new I've got to learn. But I need to get on that.
I was talking to Jared a while ago. We have a friend who's just a few years older than us, but it's funny how tech stuff, he's never really been into it. But also, I think there's just some sort of a experience that we all had in high school that maybe he left high school before the tech was hyper brought into it, and so things are come easier to us than they do to him. And you and I are the same age, or we're 1 year apart. You definitely are familiar with technology. You've experienced the introduction of the iPhone and video conferencing and all that at the
Yeah.
same time, but you haven't been wrapped up in it like I have. So it is a little different for you to say, "Oh, I know exactly how to do that and deploy it." You're just like, "Hey, I know it exists."
Yeah. Well, I'm
So
better than I talked to some judges. They don't know how to email, so I am doing better than some. So
my mom the other day asked me if I was going to do a Zoom, and after I got off the phone, or maybe I had texted her, I was like, "I bet 10 days ago my mom didn't know that word existed." Like, there's no way
I
that.
saw your dad. I saw your dad at Fuddruckers. When was that? That was maybe a month ago or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, I tapped him on the. I'm like, I'm Matt Beasley. He's like, oh, hey, how are you? I'm like, how you doing, Mr. Cole?
that's great. That's
Yeah,
great. Yeah, he's a Fuddruckers fan. He used to go there. I used to go there with him a lot. When he first worked for the Woodlands Corporation, we still lived in Houston, and so I would come up here with him every once in a while. And I think we'd always go to Fuddruckers when I came up here. And they used to have. He said it was the Bill Special. They knew what it was though, so I don't know if it was really a menu item or if they just knew
the
what he
Bill
wanted. But
special. That's hilarious.
he could
I'm
get
gonna
the Bill
ask him about
Special.
that.
Well,
Yeah,
it's changed owners a couple of times. I don't know if all who is it, the Pappases that own that now, or is it? It's not a
yeah,
Fertitta. It's the Pappases. Yeah,
I think so.
yeah. So, but yeah, that place has been around. That's funny.
Yeah,
I do like Fuddruckers though. They have some good food.
you can let your kids run around. I mean, it's a great place to bring your family for
It
sure.
is. So what are you doing in your spare time right now at home? I mean, are you guys just eating everything in? Are you ordering food out, DoorDash, going picking up curbside? I mean, we actually have done it. We've picked up food twice now. I'm not trying to not support the economy, but my wife, Casey, she wants to be as vigilant as possible, and so we're trying to not come in contact with people. But
Yeah,
what are
yeah.
you doing?
So I'm doing a lot of curbside. Like I've been to Brothers Pizza a bunch in Grogan's Mill.
Love that.
Yeah.
Man,
I
we're
try to go
talking.
to the local.
Everything we're talking about here is the Grogan's Mill Shopping Center. Maybe
Yeah, that's right.
people
Yeah.
listening, the all the LPs and people that own this thing, tune in and realize we like that place. So fix
Yeah.
it.
I love dude, Brothers Pizza. That's like a staple for this area. Same with Fuddruckers. So yeah, I like that shopping center, but I've been trying to go to the local restaurants when I can. I have, I make food at home. I usually do that for dinner, but I try to support these local restaurants. I get it. I mean,
Yeah.
I hate it. I'd hate to lose some of these guys over this.
Yeah, we talk about that. I manage a couple of shopping centers, and I've got a couple of people have paid rent that I've been surprised that they would pay rent, and then a couple of people are not paying / refusing to pay rent that I'm like, I don't know if you just think you're tagging on to a rent strike or what, but if you're a large company with 1,500 employees, I think you need to pay your rent, man. Like this is it's interesting to see businesses that otherwise seem largely unaffected by this who are just deciding to participate in not paying right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't even imagine how many people are businesses that can sustain, I don't know, months. I don't know how long this is going to last.
We don't know. And and to be fair, I mean, if most companies, I don't know, operate on a 20% profit margin, 25% profit margin, as a whole. I mean, some operate on a 3% profit margin, but if you figure that, you're basically working 9 months out of the year to pay your bills, and then 3 months out of the year, if you're making 24% profit is profit, and everybody tells you to go home for 3 months and you can't work, that business is essentially going to have no profit for that entire calendar year.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a huge hit. And we'll see how all this stimulus plays out, and the economic injury disaster loan and the payroll protection program and all that stuff. Businesses will get those things, and hopefully everyone can stay employed. And I mean, I really think that, with our economy being the greatest economy that it's ever been prior to this happening, as long as companies aren't saddled or burdened with a ton of baggage from this in August when we get back to normal, I think that we'll just be having greatest months ever again. But if you tell those people, hey, I know you didn't make any income, but also no one's going to help you out, and you have to repay all these debts that you didn't generate any income to cover, that's going to be disastrous for a lot of these businesses.
Yeah.
So we'll figure out how to handle it. I mean, I want to be fair. I really want to be fair, but I also think that if the government's stepping in and saying we have a way to help businesses, I think the businesses should go get that support, and then they should use that to still fulfill their contractual obligations. That's my current opinion.
Yeah. So what are you doing with your spare time?
Well,
Netflix.
What'd you say?
Netflix.
I was Netflixing last night. I actually we didn't have enough streams on our account for everybody. Everybody kind of wanted to be alone finally, and we let the kids do their iPad, and Casey was watching a show and I wanted to watch a show, and it popped up and it's like, you don't have enough streams. So I had to pay $3 more a month to increase my number of screens that I can watch on Netflix last night. But during the day, Casey's keeping the kids real busy. Yesterday we figured out that the kids really need a kind of a break, not only to change up the scene from mom, but also to get outside. And Casey needs a break, so I took him for a bike ride yesterday twice. I took him for a ride at about 10, and I took him for a ride at about 2, and we had fun doing that. So I'm just kind of working as much as I need to and as much as I can at home, and I'm also trying to juggle being a stay-at-home dad, kind of, sharing in those responsibilities. We've been playing some games together as a family, playing with, like the science activities, like the kinetic sand, and we have this electronics. I love all the electronics stuff, and so for Christmas, I wanted to get the kids this electronics thing, and I had to find one that was suitable for a 4-year-old. So we couldn't get the big one, but we have this thing that you can put some switches together and make like a motor turn and a light bulb light up, and the kids like playing with that. So we've just been I don't know. I think that there'll be some cultural shifts out of this. I mean, I think some people are going to realize they like being home. I think some people are going to realize they don't like being home. I think some people are going to maybe start homeschooling. I think some people will realize that that's not for them.
What do you think about the schools? Are they going back?
No chance.
Yeah, I don't think so.
This is like going to a restaurant and they're like, yeah, it'll be 15 minutes. And then you go back 15 minutes. They're like, it'll just be 15 minutes more. If you tell people it's going to be an hour when they get there, they're going to freak out.
Yeah.
The schools cannot go on the news on March 18th and be like, "Hey guys, we'll see you in August."
We're out for the rest of the year.
Everyone, it'd be mass chaos. You can't do that. But every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, they're going to come on and go, "We're going to punt this another 2 weeks, guys."
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think they said now it's May, it's middle of May or something, and school's almost out then. So I mean, I don't see there's any chance of that. Them going back to school.
There's no reward. I mean, they've already invested in all of the time and resources and certain amount of money to get the infrastructure to get these kids to be able to remote learn.
Yeah.
Why would you set all that up and not even have a plan and to say we are going to use this for the whole year? Like, we're going to commit to this, we're going to shift to this model, and we're going to see it through. Not, oh, now let's figure out how to waste a week of extremely valuable time when the kids come back to school and have a transition back to normal learning. You know,
Yeah, I agree.
I think that if anything, kids will learn how to deal with adversity right now. Kids will learn faster how to do correspondence. Course is that what you call the classes? Correspondence learning at the college classes that are
Yeah,
online,
yeah.
online correspondence. I mean, I wouldn't expect a seventh grader to understand how to do online learning, but now they do.
Now, yeah, the crash course. Yeah,
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 yeah, and who better to do that? I mean, gosh, these kids are so extremely good with technology. You tell them that their job is to get on their laptop and watch videos or video conference and learn. They're like, I can do that.
I have a friend of mine. We were talking about this yesterday. Her son is a senior,
Okay.
and at Oak Ridge High School,
Okay.
and he, I mean, she brought up because he was talking to her about it. Do you remember our last day? We knew it was our last day of school. This was just some random Friday.
Oh
They
man.
had no idea, and their high school career's over with.
That's a sad thought. I mean, that's like, you never know when it's the last time you're going to see somebody. Like,
Yeah,
that's true,
and remember we walked out of the school together. I mean, it
Oh
was a
yeah.
huge deal.
Huge
It was
deal.
like an accomplishment other than
Oh yeah.
actually walking.
And
Yeah,
you're able to actually file that away as a memory, and you're able to actually
yeah,
like know, like, when you walk out of that door,
you're
it's like,
done.
I'm done. Like, I am not going
Yeah,
back in that building as a student ever again.
yep, absolutely.
Wow. I hadn't thought about that, but I mean, I think this is the interest. This is part of the reason I love doing this, is because I love hearing different people's opinion and takes on things. And, you get insight like that. I wouldn't have processed that, or my brain wouldn't have gone to that thought. But yeah, that's a thing that, I mean, I would think that they'll basically have some symbolic events that they'll hold over the summer, and they'll say, hey,
Yeah,
let's do our senior picnic.
I hope they do. I hope they
Yeah.
do something for them.
They need to do that for sure. But the kids will just, they'll, hopefully it's important enough to them that they want to do it. This is one of those things that you and I realize how cool that was, because it was normal. We did it. And now we can look back on it 20 years later and be like, hey, that was really neat. I'm glad that happened. But in the moment, if you told someone they had to go out of their way to experience their last day of high school, they'd be like, why do I need to go out of my way to experience my last day of high school? And it's, well, because
Yeah,
you need to experience this.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
When she brought it up, I'm like you. I never would have thought about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, that was super important for me. Like
Yeah.
that was a hallmark moment in my life. And I mean, and even the kids that are trying to go to that we're going to go to playoffs or your prom,
I've thought a
or
lot about the
the
sports.
college kids.
I
Yeah,
have. I'm not a sports person at all, but I've thought a lot about the athletes and those that have been preparing themselves to, perform and be viewed, be seen by scouts, or have, a way to show a college that they're the right person to receive a scholarship, and they're not able to go and compete and perform right now. And I think that's, I don't know how they're going to handle that. I don't know if they're going to have the baseball season in the middle of the summer so the kids can do what they need to do, or what. But I really thought a lot about those kids that are not having those ordinary opportunities.
yeah, yeah.
So
It's weird. We didn't even have. I know you don't like care for sports, but March Madness. We don't have a championship basketball team.
honestly,
It's
didn't even know
crazy.
that. I legitimately did not know that was
Didn't
not
know.
going on. It's funny, like I put a Facebook status up the other day, like Nolan, my middle child, my younger son, sports maniac, just lives for it. And he came
Who do you
downstairs.
get that from? Is Casey? Is Casey a
Casey
sports
likes
girl?
sports, but she's not a sports maniac. I don't know why
Ah,
Nolan just lives and dies for sports. I take him to Target, and Voss wants to get like a Bakugan ball or whatever, and Nolan is dragging me over to the sports section so he can buy like a full-size basketball or a full-size football, or like he'll show me these things, and I'm like, buddy, this is too big for you to even play with. Like, you don't need these things. I'll give you a miniature-sized basketball, and he just throws a huge fit, and he wants like the real stuff. But
yeah,
um But it was funny because Nolan was like, I want to watch sports. And Casey was like, I'm sorry, buddy, they're not on. And I comment to Casey I was like, there's probably a lot of people who are missing sports right now. And
Big
she
time.
was like, you
Big
think?
time.
Like, I mean,
Absolutely. Hey, I'm one of those people. I love sports. And
yeah.
They're showing reruns. ESPN, who knows what they're doing? I don't even know if they can report on anything because they don't have any. There's not. I don't know. Maybe they're playing reruns of Sports Center. I don't know.
When this first kicked off and people in sports, like remember when like the basketball season announced they were suspending, and then baseball announced they were suspending, and NHL was in there. There were some guys that made this really funny video, and the camera was zoomed in on the TV, and it was a guy bowling. And the guy bowled.
I shared that. Yes,
you
was
shared it.
Hilarious.
And then they zoom out, and it's this living room full of guys, and they're all like cheering.
And cheering to bowl. Yeah,
and it wasn't
they're playing chess.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the guy makes the move and slaps the timer, and everybody's like, ah!
Yeah.
So
exactly. Yeah.
That was a really good video. Now those guys can't even get together in one room. So
right.
They should redo the Zoom version of that, I think. But no, this is nuts. But I mean, honestly, even just this interaction right here is nice. I mean, to reach out and be able to have this conversation. I mean, I wish you were sitting, across from me. Although I think you'd be 6 feet away from me. But I wish you were here in the studio in person. And I think we definitely need to make that happen when we're allowed to get together again.
Well, I think we're setting a good example for everyone. But I do want to come to the studio. I will say, I guess, one thing I wanted to talk about, or at least mention, and it falls in line with what you're saying right now. Reach out to your family and friends. Do it by FaceTime. Call them. Take time to call everyone you know that you care about, and that you have in your contact list, because it helps people get through the day. It helps people, get out and walk. If people are having issues, call and let someone know, because right now is a weird time for some people. And, I think we should all be very deliberate and intentional in making sure that the people we care about, we reach out to them and just talk to them and ask them how they're doing, just interact with people, because a lot of people are used to that. And, it may mean a lot to some folks.
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing that up. I think that's very much needed advice, especially from a person in your position who experiences what happens, to people who become holed up in their house and lonely. So I think that's.
Yeah.
I think that's. Thank you for saying that, and that's thought provoking. I mean, I will make sure that I reach out to people and we stay in touch, and I hope that people.
Hey,
when you sent
me a text message, I was pumped. I haven't talked to Morgan. I don't know how long. This is the best time to talk to him.
That's awesome. That's great. Well,
yeah.
I wish it was under more standard circumstances, but let's do this again, man. I really appreciate you. Really appreciate you joining me here, and I'd love to get you back on, and we can talk about how efficient your court's running, and we can talk about the wild things you've seen in the last few months, and we'll just stay in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you need anything, just give me a holler, and I certainly appreciate you having me on here. I think it's great, man. I think you've done an excellent job, and that's just what Morgan Cole does.
Oh, thank you. And you keep up the good work too, Matt. I appreciate you taking your time to be on here, and be safe and keep distancing and wash those hands.
We'll do it.
All right, man. You have a good one. Thank you.
All right, you too. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.